Welcome to Collecting Chaos. My name is James, and in this video, we're going to talk about collectors. Well, actually, I'm going to talk about collectors. And what I'm going to talk about is the different types of comic book collectors. There's probably more types than you think. On the other hand, I don't think I got them all. But before I do that, yesterday, I didn't post a video. I didn't post a what the bleep. And now I realize I could have, because I did get something. So I'm going to show you what it is. I'm not going to save it any longer because I need to use them. I got a pair of 3D glasses. Now, isn't that cool? I have some 3D comics I want to read, and this way I don't have to take the glasses out or find an old pair. Yeah, that'll be fun. But they sent me two pairs. So what I'm going to do with the second pair of, I've only got one pair of eyes. So I really don't need two pair of glasses. So what I'm going to do with this one? I know. I'll toss it in this box over here. The box containing everything that I plan on giving away when I hit 1,000 subscribers. If I ever hit 1,000 subscribers. I've only been working on it for about 6 years. I should be there any century now. But let's go ahead and talk about collecting comic book collectors, and we're going to start right after this. All right, I got an old backing board here. It's a modern age board, so I don't use it. I don't use them. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about comic collectors. And I'm going to talk about the very worst kind first. Those collectors that you absolutely hate, but are a necessary part of our environment. And that is the speculator. Why do we hate speculators? Because they buy up all the good books before we get a chance at them, right? And then they sell them for an insane amount of money. All in the hopes of making a profit, a quick profit. That's why we don't like it. But to a certain extent, most of us are speculators. We'll buy comics in the hopes that it goes up in value. Or are we? Are we trying to get a quick flip? Speculators are those that are buying up comics to hopefully get that key issue that's going to be worth a fortune. Those people that bought 10 or 15 copies of, or more, maybe 100 copies of Absolute Batman #1, first print, A cover, you know, and they made money. I mean, what, in a 9.8, it goes for about $500 now, maybe more. It'll probably go back down, but the whole point is they make money quick. That's the whole purpose. And like I said, they're an important part of the collectors. They're important because they add comics. Later on, they have to dump a lot of comics, and they dump them cheap. So people like me can buy them for 35 cents a piece or $1 a piece. And then I turn around and sell them cheap. You know, I make a little money off of them, but I sell them cheap when I sell them. A lot of times they just sit around forever. And that's because I don't bother trying to sell them. You know, or I'll put them in a $2 box and people will, you know, and then I'll rotate them through. It happens. Next up, we have the second category of people that you may not be a big fan of. We're going to call these Flippers. What's the difference between a speculator and a flipper? Speculators generally are going to buy either new comics or hot comics, comics that they think are going to get hot because a movie's coming out or for some other reason, maybe a TV show, or they just think that it's going to be hot. That's what a speculator does. A flipper, they might buy an older comic that isn't a key, issue. It might, and they know what the value is, but they're buying it at a slightly lower price to try to flip it and make money. I don't have a problem with that. As a matter of fact, that's pretty much every brick and mortar comic book store in the world. They want to buy low and sell high because they got to make money. That's what a flipper does. Sometimes they have to buy a bunch of stuff that they don't want to get the stuff they do want that they're going to make money on. And they take that other stuff and they put it as run fillers. That's no problem. Flippers are good for the hobby. They help us out. They allow us to complete runs fairly inexpensively because they don't want to try to get a lot of money for them. There's one more category in this first segment that I'm going to talk about. And these people might piss you off, and at the same time, you kind of admire them. And these are the investors. These people aren't necessarily buying keys. They're buying high-grade comics that are desirable. They don't necessarily have to be a key. It might be an old Batman from the 40s or an old Superman from the 40s. But they know that if they buy it now and they hold on to it, they might be able to realize a profit when they do decide to sell it or when they retire and decide to sell it. Or they can be like me and plan on selling it when they retire and then retire and go, no, I ain't selling it. But basically, they're going to hold on for the long term. They're not looking for a quick flip. They're not looking for a speculation. They're looking to invest and hold. And they're looking to buy the highest grade of that copy that they can afford. Because that is how you get a good investment. Nothing wrong with that. That probably describes about 99% of the comic collectors to a certain degree. If they're not in the speculator or flipper category, most likely they're an investor. Or are they? Now, those are the three basic collectors that are in it for money. That's the main reason they're into it. And a lot of the people that I'm going to discuss next will fall into one of these three categories. Let's get another one out, because now I'm going to talk about a different type of collector. And this is a fairly new collector. I mean, there's always been these, but they were rare back when I first started collecting. People were more into into buying whole runs and trying to put together whole runs. And that is the key collector. They don't care about a particular comic. They don't care about the story. They're interested in a comic book that introduces something new, makes a change to the hobby. It's a key for that reason. Action Comics #1 is a key. Conan #1 is a key. First appearance of Conan in comics. Hulk 181 is a key because it's the first full story of Wolverine with Wolverine in it. His first appearance is also a key to 180. Those are all key comics. It's the nature of the beast. And there's a lot of people that they don't care about the other comics. They just want to buy keys. And a lot of these key buyers are also investors. Some of them are flippers because they want to try to buy the keys low and sell them high. Uh, People like me, yeah, I like to get key comics, but I don't want to pay a whole lot of money for them, and I'm not worried about them being high grade. So I don't consider myself a key collector. We'll get to my situation later. So key collectors is an important part of the hobby because they maintain high grade copies. Next, run collectors. Pokemon. They got to get them all. They buy one or two comics to read, and now they have to have all of them. I have a significant number of Wolverine comics, but I'm not trying to get a full run of Wolverine. I just have them. I picked them up. I haven't let them go yet. I have a full run of Secret Six, which I'm going to show tonight. I have a full run of Tomb of Dracula. I think I have either I have a full run or I have a real close to a full run of Werewolf by Night. I have a lot of runs, and I work on runs because I like to have them that way. I like to start at the first issue and read it all the way through. It's not always easy to do. That's what I like to do. Would I call myself a run collector? No. I collect runs, just like I collect key comics, but I'm not a run collector. So, keys and runs, what else is there? Well, how about ash cans and promo comics? Ash cans are considered about half the size of a regular comic book, and promotional comics can be larger, full size, or the smaller ones. A lot of the promo comics today come out on Free Comic Book Day, but they used to come out, Pizza Hut used to have giveaways. Big Boy had giveaways. Buster Brown Shoes had giveaway comics. Charlton did some promotional comics that they gave to the military, and it says promotional copy right on there. So that's another type of collector. They like those weird things. And there's a huge number of promotional comics. There's a whole section in the Overstreet price guides that just lists promotional comics. Check it out sometime if you have an old price guide. I highly recommend everybody have at least one Overstreet price guide. Not for the prices, but for the information. There's a lot of good information in there. Is it complete? No, but it's still good information. I got to answer my phone. I'll be right back. And I'm back. So what's after ash cans and promotional comics? That's ash can, promote, preview. They're all the same. Oh, cover collectors. They don't care about the inside of the comic. They don't care about the beautiful artwork that's inside of a comic. They only care about the cover. Because once they have it sealed away in plastic, or, have it graded and sealed in plastic, or they put it in a Mylar and seal it and never want to open it again because they want it pristine. They don't want to take the chance on damaging it. Cover collectors, that's all they care about. Is they buy it for the cover, for the artwork. The artwork. The artwork. And they're missing 99% of the artwork by only buying the cover. Guys, go buy a poster. No, uh, that's fine. If that's the way they want to collect, that is wonderful. Every one of these people that collect like this, that's great. That's their hobby. That's how they enjoy it. I can't argue with that. But when we talk about cover collectors, we have to talk about the next one. Artists. People that collect certain artists. Uh, Neil Adams, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, Murphy Anderson. Uh, the list goes on and on and on. I know Kubert collectors that collect Kubert art. Um, Kurt Schaffenberger, Kurt Swan. I know I'm forgetting 99% of the Golden Age artists, and for those of you that love certain Golden Age artists, I apologize. I just don't have a list with me handy, and the list is too long to remember. But there are a lot of people out there that collect certain artists. And some people, like me, want to get that artist's first published work. Not necessarily their first, well, their first published art. I'm not going to say first published work, because the first published work and their first published art is not always the same thing. Because take Bernie Wrightson. His first published art was in Creepy Number 8. His first published work was in, I believe, A House of Mystery. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it was in A House of Mystery. So, yeah, that's how it works. The first published work of Neil Adams. There were 2 comics that came out at the same time. One of them was a Fly comic, The Fly, and it contained one single panel by Neil Adams. And people consider that his first published work. But that exact same month, possibly the same week, I don't know for sure, he did a story, wrote and drew a story for Archie's Madhouse, I think it was. And anyway, it was one of the Archie comics. But people would rather say The Fly is his first published work, when in reality, it's the Archie comic, because it has his work in it. Not just a single panel, but a whole story and artwork done by him. To me, that's a first published work. But people are going to argue, and I have no problem with that. That's their prerogative. So what's next? There are error collectors. And these are collectors that want really badly miswrapped comics. I mean, like the cover's half missing because it's the spine goes like this. I've got a comic similar to that. Or a double cover, triple cover. Maybe it has the inside of the comic stapled backwards. Whereas, if you open the back of if you turn it over and you open the back cover, you see the front of the comic. My Tarzan was like that. My Tarzan #1 was like that until somebody decided to pull it off and turn it on out. And then said it was a married cover, which it wasn't. It was the original cover. It was just somebody's made a bad mistake. What else? Multiple staples, missing staples, not comics that purposely only had one staple in the center, but a comic that was only stapled at the top or only stapled at the bottom, and all of the other comics in that number have both staples. And I've even seen a comic that had no staples at all, but it was complete. Comics that are stapled together that have the wrong, they might have a cover but they have the wrong inside. I've seen that before too. So there are people that collect stuff like that. They're not, those comics aren't considered particularly valuable to most, but there are. I'm going to put with that recalled comics. So we're going to say error/recalls. Because there are also people that collect recalls. Variant cover collectors. I don't even have that on the, why did I miss that one? Variant cover. You know what? We're just going to say variant collectors. Because we're not just talking about variant covers. We're also talking about variant ads on the inside of the comic, like Mark Jewelers, which is the most famous. But there's a lot of other ones too. And you know, it depends on where the comic was released, and also variant prices. That would fall into this category. Some of these comics are worth a lot of money. Some of them are very rare because they were only released in certain markets. For instance, Mark Jewelers comics were only released on military bases in the U.S. and abroad. That's where they were released. The variant prices were released in certain cities in the U.S. and everybody else got the regular price. So there are variant collectors out there, and that's kind of important. Then we have era collectors, people that only collect comics from certain eras: the Golden Age, Silver Age, Copper Age, Bronze Age, Modern Age, or maybe they only want comics from the 60s. Yeah, those are all Silver Age, but the Silver Age goes back into the 50s. Maybe they only want Bronze Age comics from the 70s. Well, the Bronze Age extended into the 80s, so they wouldn't buy those. Maybe they only want Bronze Age comics, which is about 5 or 6 years. Okay, that's fine. It's possible that all they want is modern comics, and that starts around 1990, 1991, 1992, right around there, all the way to present. There's a lot of years of comics. It's 46 years of comic books. The whole point is there are people that just want certain eras. And I'm going to put under that birthday collectors. What do I mean by birthday collectors? I'm going to put a slash and go birthday. A birthday collector is either someone that collects the year that they were born. So for me, that would be all comics born are made in 1954. Yeah, I'm old. Get over it. Or it could be month and year. So maybe somebody was born in April of 1975. So every comic published in April or with a cover date of April 1975, they want to get. That's what I call a birthday collector. And it can be month or year. Next up, we've got genre. Yes, there are people that collect particular genres. There are people that just collect horror comics. There are people that collect pre-code horror. There are people that collect 70s horror, and just people that collect horror, period. There are people that only collect superhero comics. There are people that only collect funny animal comics, or what would they be called? Anthropomorphic comics. And that's what Donald Duck is. Donald Duck is an anthropomorphic comic. Thank you very much. Got that off my chest. So is Mickey Mouse. So there are people that collect particular genres. Westerns, war, which I classify those as military. So we've got Westerns, military, romance, horror, hero. And when I say hero, I mean non-super and superhero, because Batman is a hero. Superman is a superhero. Green Arrow is a hero. Wonder Woman is a superheroine. See the difference? I just classify them all as heroes because that makes it easier. There are the classics collectors, which are uh, collectors of comics that have been based on a novel or on a movie. I'm going to lump those all together. They're based on another thing. I consider that a single genre. So yeah, all my classics illustrated are genre collectors. Go under genre collector. But you know, I also collect superhero and horror, and yeah, I collect everything. Humor. Richie Rich is a humor comic. Beetle Bailey is a humor comic. Uh, all those are humor comics. But Donald Duck is an anthropomorphic humor comic. So, or a funny animal comic. So that's another. I need another. Here we go. There's another one. What's next? Character collectors. Someone that collects Superman might also collect Lois Lane, Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, Action Comics, Adventures of Superman, Superman, Man of Steel, DC Comics Presents, and on and on and on and on and on. Anything that Superman appeared in. A Wonder Woman collector might do the same thing. They would also collect Justice League of America. A Batman collector might collect only Batman comics and detective comics and World's Finest and stuff like that. I mean, there are different, you know, Wolverine collectors who are going to collect Wolverine. They're going to collect X-Men. Obviously, they're going to get an occasional Incredible Hulk. Uh, the point is they focus on a single character and they collect just that character. Or they might have 2 or 3 characters. They might collect Wolverine and Spider-Man, or maybe they collect Nightwing and Gambit. Maybe those are their favorite 2 characters, and those are the characters they collect. There's even, I'm sure there's even Robin collectors out there. Yeah, nobody believes me when I tell them that, but there are. I've met one. I've met a Robin collector, so I supply them with Robin comics occasionally when I run across them. So that's another type of collector. What's next? Did I say? Brand loyalists, people that only collect Adele comics, only collect Gold Key comics, even though it's the same thing. Only collect DC, only collect Marvel. You know, do they want the Atlas comics from the 50s? No, because they don't say Marvel. They only want the Marvel comics. They might pass up a Fantastic Four because it doesn't say Marvel on it. Who am I kidding? They'd buy Fantastic Four, #1, if they could afford it. But they're brand loyalists. They only buy that particular brand. Am I a brand loyalist? To a certain extent. I buy more DC comics than anything else, but am I a brand loyalist? No, because I buy Archie and EC and other stuff too. So you can't really call me a brand loyalist. So far, I fit into every category. Have you noticed that? What's next? I know there's more. How about signature collectors? They want their comics signed by one of the artists, by a writer, or by everybody involved in it. And they want it blazoned on the front cover so everybody can know that they have the signature. And more often than not, they get them graded. I have no problem with that. If that's the way you want to do it, I like signatures. I like them on the inside of the comic. I don't want them on the cover. They're destroying my cover art. Put it on the inside where I can't see it, but I know it's there. No, because every time I open the comic to read it, I see that signature and I go, yeah, that's cool. But I don't want it on the cover of the comic generally. And before 1990, I'm going to say, well, maybe even a little bit before that. But in general, before 1990, nobody ever signed the cover. They always opened it up and signed the inside. It wasn't until the 90s that people started signing the covers. Okay, that's fine. There are signature collectors, and that's cool. I love it. That's great for them. The more different types of collectors we have, the better the hobby is. There's got to be another time. Oh, that reminds me. Slabs. People that want every comic book they own slabbed. If it isn't slabbed, they don't want it. Now, there's not as many of these as there were a few years ago. A lot of people that were hardcore, I want my comics in high grade and I want them slabbed, are going to, I want my comics in high grade. Mylar's good enough. Because getting a comic slabbed is getting more and more expensive. And that's just the way it is. The more expensive it gets, the fewer slabs that people are going to want. The fewer graded comics are going to want. Phone. I really need to start turning my phone off when I'm recording. That was a spammer that I've been telling, don't call me. And I've been removed from their list about 7 or 8 times, and they keep calling me. They want to loan me money. I don't want to borrow money. I have money. I have enough money. I don't need to borrow any. Oh, you're in debt. You owe this much to this credit card company. Yeah, and I'm paying it off. Don't worry about me. But I digress. You know, we got slab collectors, but we also have raw collectors. These are people that want their comics raw. They want to be able to read them. They want to be able to open them up. Now, a lot of collectors that are in this category take really good care of their comics, and they put them in Mylar or they put them in a polypropylene bag and change them every 10 years or so, which polypropylene bags to me is a waste of money. And the reason I say that is because you got to change them every 5 to 10 years. Just put them in a Mylar, and then you don't have to worry about that. So I collect raw comics, but I have some slabs too, and I have them on purpose. And I have 1 or 2 comics that I would like to get in as a slab, a 9.8 slab. I have raw comic copies of them, but I'd like to have a slabbed copy, and I occasionally go online and look for them. But they're always a little more money than what I want to pay, and for no reason, because they aren't rare and they aren't keys, but for some reason they're desirable. So I can't really say I'm one or the other. I have some signatures, but I don't go out and look for them. So I have some, but I can't really call myself a signature collector. I'm mostly DC Comics, but I also collect Daredevil and a few other, and Conan and a few other Marvel comics, and Harvey and Gold Key and Dell and PC Comics and Atlas Comics. Yeah, I guess I'm not a brand loyalist either. Do I collect one character? Well, I prefer Superman. Superman is my main guy. He's the guy I collect most of. But I also collect, like I said, Daredevil and Conan and a whole bunch of other characters too. Wonder Woman and Supergirl. And Yeah, so I'm not really just a single character collector. I have artists that I like to get, so I'm not really an artist collector because I like a lot of different artists. I do like errors and recall comics, and I get them when I can, but I don't search them out. I like variants of some types. I love getting a comic from uh, my birthday month and even my birthday year. And I'm I like to focus on the '60s as an era because that's when I was a child growing up reading comic books. I turned 6 in 1960. Or was it 1959? I don't remember. It was 1960. So that's when I started reading comic books. And the '60s are my era. But I'm not a devout '60s comic reader. I like the '70s and '80s and the '50s and the '40s and the '30s and the '90s and the 2000s. I even like new comics. Am I genre specific? No, I collect them all. I like humor. I like Archie. I like I said, Dell and Gold Key. So that covers a lot of anthropomorph, and it covers a lot of movie comics. And I collect, of course, Classics Illustrated, Classics Illustrated Junior. So I'm not really a genre collector. I do like getting a key comic occasionally, but I'm not really a key comic collector. Do I collect runs? Yes, but I also collect single items that I may never get the runs for, and I don't worry about if I get them or not. Like getting ash cans and promos and preview comics. And I like, sometimes I just buy a comic for the cover. So I fit all of those categories. Am I a speculator? Once in a while, I buy comics on speculation. Not very often, but I do it once in a while. I do flip comics occasionally. Sometimes I buy comics just to flip them. Matter of fact, I've got one coming that I bought last night, and I plan on flipping it. I'll probably take a loss on it, but that's okay. I do invest in comics. I invested, I have every intention of selling my Action Comics 252 at some point in my lifetime. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy it. Will I sell my Superman 14? Probably not. Uh, when I finish my Lois Lane collection and read them, I'll probably sell my #1. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. It is a rare comic uh, for Silver Age. For the Silver Age, it's considered one of the top 10 rarest Silver Age comics. So, what the hell kind of collector am I? There's one I have not talked about yet. And that's the category I fall into. I'm a hoarder. I hoard comics. That's why I keep trying to sell them off and end up with more than I started with. When I hit 20,000 comics, I decided I've got way too many. I need to sell some. And I started selling. And I still sell them occasionally. But now I've got 25 or 26,000. Let's face it, when it comes to comic books, I'm a hoarder. I know I'm a hoarder. But that's okay. Because I have them all in boxes. Well, most of them in boxes. I have most of them cataloged. I know pretty much what I've got. Although I lose them occasionally, like I lost my Tomb of Dracula #10 for what, 3 years? I lost my Wolverine 1 and 2 from the miniseries. Still looking for that. I found my 3 and 4. No, wait. I don't remember what I did with them. So, oh well. I'll find them one day. But to me, that pretty much covers every type of collector. Did I miss some? Probably. Did I miss your particular style of collecting? Most likely. But you know what? It's all good. We like comic books. That's the whole point. And we like collecting them. And regardless of if you're collecting them to flip them, if you're collecting to speculate on them, or you're collecting to make a run, or you like a particular artist, or you just buy the covers, or you're buying it so you can get it signed, or it's an error and you need it, or you only buy one type or one brand or one type, and you like them raw, or you like them all slabbed, or you're promotional or era specific, you're a collector. And that's the great part about this hobby. There's no one particular type. And that's going to be it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed it. We'll see you tonight. Take care, everybody. Bye.